Hello, hello, welcome to Shelf Defiance. I am your disembodied narrator. We are continuing on with chapter 22 of Jurgen. Last we left, Jurgen was walking with uh, Anitas. I don't know how to say that, my apologies. And the title of chapter 22, As to a Veil They Broke. So let's see how they broke it. And of course, this is made available by the amazing people at Project Gutenberg. All right, let me adjust myself here. Okay, so it was that Jurgen came in to Cogni, wherein is the bedchamber of time, and time they report, came in with Jurgen, since Jurgen was mortal, and time, they say, rejoiced in this respite from the slow toil of dilapidating cities, stone by stone, and with his eyes tired by the finicky work of etching in wrinkles, went happily into his bedchamber, and fell asleep just after sunset, on this fine evening in late June, so that the weather remained fair and changeless, with no glaring sun rays anywhere, and with one large star shining alone in clear daylight. This was the star of Venus, Mechanitis, Mechanitis, my apologies. And Jurgen later derived considerable amusement from noting how the star was trundled about the dome of heaven by a largish beetle named uh, Capri. That's as close as I'm gonna get. My apologies. Anyone knows how to say that correctly? And the trees everywhere kept their first fresh foliage, and the birds were about their indolent evening songs, all during Jurgen's stay in Cogni, for time had gone to sleep at the pleasantest hour of the year's most pleasant season, so tells the tale. And Jurgen's shadow also went in with Jurgen, but in Cogni, as in Lathian, nobody save Jurgen, seemed to notice this curious shadow which now followed Jurgen everywhere. In Cogni, Queen Anatius had a palace where domes and pinnacles beyond numbering glimmering with a soft whiteness above the top of an old twilight forest, wherein the vegetation was unlike that which is nourished by ordinary earth. There was to be seen in these woods, for instance, a sort of moss which made Jurgen shudder. So Anatius and Jurgen came through narrow paths like murmuring green caverns into a courtyard walled and paved with yellow marble, wherein was nothing save the dimly colored statue of a god with 10 heads and 34 arms. He was represented as very much engrossed by a woman, and with his unoccupied hands was holding yet another woman, or yet other women. It is Jigsbide, said Anatius. Said Jurgen, I do not criticize. Nevertheless, I think this Jigsbide is carrying matters to extremes. Then they passed the statue of Tangaro Lolaquang, and afterward the statue of Legba. Jurgen stroked his chin, and his color heightened. Now, certainly, Queen Anatius, he said, you have unusual taste in sculpture. Thence Jurgen came with Anatius into a white room with copper plaques upon the walls, and there 4 girls were heating water in a brass tripod. They bathed Jurgen, giving him astonishing caresses meanwhile, with the tongue, the hair, the fingernails, and the tips of the breasts. And they anointed him with 4 oils, then dressed him again in this glittering shirt. Of Caliburn, said Anatius, there was no present need, so Jurgen's sword was hung upon the wall. These girls brought silver bowls containing wine mixed with honey, and they brought pomegranates and eggs and barleycorn, and triangular red-colored loaves, whereupon they sprinkled sweet-smelling little seeds with formal gestures. Then Anatius and Jurgen broke their fast, eating together, while the 4 girls served them. And now, says Jurgen, and now, my dear, I would suggest that we enter into the pursuit of those curious pleasures of which you were telling me. I am very willing, responded Antius, since there is no one of these pleasures but is purchased by some diversion of man's nature. Yet first, as I need hardly inform you, there is a ceremonial to be observed. And what, pray, is this ceremonial? Why, we call it the breaking of the veil. And Queen Anatius explained what they must do. Well, says Jurgen, I am willing to taste any drink once. I think those are famous last words, my dude. Not sure that's going to be where you're going to want to go. So Anatius led Jurgen into a sort of chapel adorned with very unchurch-like paintings. There were four shrines dedicated severely to Saint Cosmo, to Saint Damonius, Damonius, to Saints Gognol of Brest, and to Saint Boutin de Varilis. In this chapel were a hooded man clothed in long garments that were stripped with white and yellow, and two naked children, both girls. One of the children carried a censer, the other held in one hand a vividly blue pitcher half filled with water, and in her left hand a cellar of salt. First of all, the hooded man made Jurgen ready. Behold the lance, said the hooded man, which must serve you in this adventure. I accept the adventure, Jurgen replied, because I believe the weapon to be trustworthy. Said the hooded man, so be it, but as you are, so once was I. Meanwhile, Duke Jurgen held the lance erect, shaking it with his right hand. This lance was large, and the tip of it was red with blood. Behold, said Jurgen, I am a man born of a woman incomprehensibly. Now I, who am miraculous, am found worthy to perform a miracle and to create that which I may not comprehend. Feel like you're already doing that, dude. Anitius took salt and water from the child and mingled these. Let the salt of earth enable the thin fluid to assume the virtue of the teeming sea. Then, kneeling, she touched the lance and began to stroke it lovingly. To Jurgen she said, now may you be fervent of soul and body. May the endless serpent be your crown, and the fertile flame of the sun your strength. Said the hooded man again, so be it. His voice was high and bleeding because of that which had been done to him. I don't like where this is going at all. That therefore which we cannot understand we also invoke, said Jurgen. But the power of the lifted lance, and now with his left hand he took the hand of Anatius. I, being a man born of a woman incomprehensibly, now seize upon that which alone I desire with my whole being. I lead you toward the east. I upraise you above the earth and all the things of earth. Then Jurgen raised Queen Anatius so that she sat upon the altar, and that which was there before tumbled to the ground. Anatius placed together the tips of her thumbs and of her fingers so that her hands made an open triangle, and waited thus. Upon her head was a network of real coral, with branches radiating downward. Her gauzy tunic had 22 openings, so as to admit all imaginable caresses, and was of two colors, being shot with black and crimson, curiously mingled. Her dark eyes glittered, and her breath came fast. Now the hooded man and the two naked girls performed their share in the ceremonial, which part it is not essential to record, but Jurgen was rather shocked by it. Yeah, I don't like where that was going. Nonetheless, Jurgen said, O cord that binds the circling of the stars, O cup which holds all time, all color, and all thought, all soul of space. No, O soul of space. Not unto not unto any image of thee do we attain, unless thy image show in what we are about to do. Therefore, by every plant which scatters its seed, and by the moist, warm garden which receives and nourishes it, by the comminglement of bloodshed with pleasure, by the joy that mimics anguish with sighs and shudderings, and by the contentment which mimics death. By all these do we invoke thee, O thou continuous one, whose will these children attend, and whom I now adore in this fair colored and soft woman's body. It is thou whom I honor, not any woman, in doing what seems good to me. And it is thou who art about to speak, and not she. Then Anatius said, yeah, for I speak with the tongue of every woman, and I shine in the eyes of every woman when the lance is lifted. To serve me is better than all else. When you invoke me with the heart wherein is kindled the serpent flame, it but for a moment you will understand the delights of my garden, which what joy unwordable pulsates therein, and how potent is the soul desire, which uses all of man. To serve me, you will then be eager to surrender whatever else is in your life, and other pleasures you will take with your left hand, not thinking of them entirely. For I am the desire which uses all of man, and so wastes nothing. And I accept you. I yearn toward you. I who am daughter, and somewhat more than daughter to the sun. I who am all pleasure, all ruin, and a drunkenness of the inmost sense, desire you. Now Jurgen held his lance erect before Anatius. O secret of all things, hidden in the being of all which lives. Now that the lance is exalted, I do not dread thee, for thou art in me, and I am thou. I am the flame that burns in every beating heart and in the core of the farthest star. I too am life, and the giver of life, and in me too is death. Wherein art thou better than I? I am alone. My will is justice, and there comes no other God where I am. Said the hooded man behind Jurgen, so be it. But as you are, so once was I. Yeah, that just seems really ominous that he keeps saying that. The two naked children stood one at each side of Anatius and waited there trembling. These girls, as Jurgen afterward learned, were Alecto and Tisiphone, two of the Eumendes. Yeah, I don't know how to say that either. And now Jurgen shifted the red point of the lance so that it rested in the open triangle made by the fingers of Anatius. I am life and the giver of life, cried Jurgen. Thou that art one, that makest use of all. I, who am a man born of woman, I in my station honor thee in honoring this desire which uses all of man. Make open, therefore, the way of creation, encouraging the flame dust which is in our hearts, and aid us in that flame's perpetuation. For is not that thy law? Anatius answered, There is no law in cogni save. Do that which seems good to you. Well, that doesn't sound good. Then said the naked children, Perhaps it is the law, but certainly it is not justice. Yet we are little and quite helpless. So presently we must be made as you are. For now you too are no longer two, and your flesh is not shared merely with each other, for your flesh becomes our flesh, and your sins our sins, and we have no choice. Now that's messed up. Jurgen lifted Anatius from the altar, and they went into the chancel and searched for the adytum. There seemed to be no doors anywhere in the chancel, but presently Jurgen found an opening screened by a pink veil. Jurgen thrust his lance and broke this veil. He heard the sound of one brief wailing cry. It was followed by soft laughter. So Jurgen came into the adytum. Black candles were burning in this place, and sulfur, too, was burning there, before a scarlet cross, of which the top was a circle, and whereupon was nailed a living toad, and other curious matters. Jurgen likewise noticed. He laughed and turned to Anatius. Now that the candles were behind him, she was standing in a shadow. Well, well, but you are a little old-fashioned with all these equivocal mummeries. And I did not know that civilized persons any longer retained sufficient credulity to write a thrill from God-baiting. Still, women must be humored, bless them. And at last, I take it, we have quite fairly fulfilled the ceremonial requisite to the pursuit of curious pleasures. Oh, man. Queen Anatius was very beautiful, even under his bedimming shadow. Triumphant, too, was the proud face beneath that curious coral network, and yet this woman's face was sad. Dear fool, she said, it was not wise, when you sang of the Leshy, to put an affront upon Monday. Uh-oh. But you have forgotten that. And now you laugh because that which we have done you do not understand, and equally that which I am you do not understand. No matter what you may be, my dear, I am sure that you will presently tell me all about it, for I assume that you mean to deal fairly with me. I shall do that which becomes me, Duke Jurgen. That is it, my dear, precisely. You intend to be true to yourself, whatever happens. The aspiration does you infinite honor, and I shall try to help you. Now I have noticed that every woman is most truly herself, said Jurgen oracularly in the dark. Then Jurgen looked at her for a moment with twinkling eyes. Then Anatius, standing in his shadow, smiled with glowing eyes. Then Jurgen blew out those black candles, and then it was quite dark. Well, I kind of feel like Jurgen needs to be, I don't know, corrected. He seems to be kind of devolving here. What is happening? All right, well, that's the end of chapter 22. We will leave Jurgen there and that ridiculousness that he seems to have stumbled in. And I forgot about Monday. I don't know if anyone else did or not, but I completely spaced the whole incident with Monday. All right, well, thanks for joining me. See you next time.